I was trying to do all these sort of things. Like I was trying to, change the way I think, change my, mental patterns, change my beliefs, change this, change that, like in these hopes that one day I will be able to approach my dad like in a way, in a non-confrontational enough way, in a non in a passive enough, in a subdued enough way where I would not trigger him, and I could actually talk to him reasonably on a equal basis. Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Dakota, and here I just share and discuss and do meditations and other relaxing and not so relaxing things. Today I thought it would be fun to talk about parents and relationship to parents and our, well, I guess long story short is I blocked my dad. And also, by the way, this audio can sound kind of crappy because my microphone stopped working for whatever reason. So I'm gonna do my best with the audio editing, but if it sounds like crap, yeah, I apologize, but well, not really, I guess, because at least I get to record. So my father has been one of my primary abusers, and well, yesterday I actually finally did the I still can't get over it. It's still alive in me right now. That I was like, just fucking fuck you, block. Because if you're expecting love and light in this video, or me being understanding in this video, this episode is not gonna be it at all, because I am really enraged, I guess, still at this point. And I was enraged, I guess, my entire life, up until, I guess, I just gave myself permission to not engage with this person, because it was so much, pressure. It is this pressure, like, from the culture to just be here for your parents, to, it's like your parents did the best they could, like, all the excuses, excuses to keep you there with them while, they are abusing you, pretty much. Just excuse their fucking behavior. And I was like, no, it's enough. It's enough, And just keep trying and keep showing up for people who never fucking change. People who cannot fucking recognize your reality at any point, because this is me and my dad in a nutshell. This dynamic, like extremely toxic dynamic with him for my entire life that I had, is that I was very scapegoated, I guess. It was like everything was my fault, Everything was my fault, and everything was just, for him. Like, it's like I had to do it for him. And and it's like, how dare I not fucking think the way he thinks, or the way he wants me to think. It's like every time I had like some idea of a self, some idea of being independent, but not necessarily like, monetarily, or like being able to do everything by myself, independent in a way where I just had like autonomy, like I wanted to make choices, I wanted to do the things that I wanted to do. I wanted to express the way I wanted to fucking express, every time that was like the biggest fucking problem. And there's this pressure at the same time from society or from even the spiritual circles, is that you must, forgive your parents, and even this fucking modality that you have to, like a healing modality, that you have to, beg your parents for forgiveness. Like, for what? Forgiveness for what? What do they have to forgive me for? And so I was hooked on these modalities for such a long time, trying and like fueling my own denial in a way, because trying to just push the reality further and further away. The reality that I didn't want to accept, the reality that I didn't want to see about my parents, and especially my dad. I was trying to do all these sorts of things. Like, I was trying to, change the way I think, change my, mental patterns, change my beliefs, change this, change that, like in these hopes that one day I will be able to approach my dad, like, in a way, in a non-confrontational enough way, in a in a passive enough, in a, subdued enough way where I would not trigger him, and I could actually talk to him reasonably on a equal basis. Oh, was I fucking deluded? My God. I was deluded. Because no matter what I did, no matter how much healing in myself I did, how much I tried to raise my awareness, right? My brain and, and understand myself and the parents inside myself and all my inner critics and, all of that. All of that I still see was a way to cope with, like, the simple reality that anything outside of a trajectory of how my dad imagined I have to be is instantly gonna be a trigger by default. And I hate it. I hate this fact. It hurts like a bitch. Because this ideal version, this ideal relationship that I had in my mind, the possibility of, if only I just tried hard enough, if I learned hard enough to one day approach him in a proper, in a correct manner, that I will get lucky enough to approach him in a correct manner, for him to actually see me and accept me and open up to me, that all of that was just my own way, my own delusion in a way. And no matter what I do, no matter what I did, I could never do enough work for him on his side. It's like, and I have this, like, in me still. I can feel it, it's like this idea that somehow if I do enough work, that person is gonna make a different decision that is gonna recognize me. Despite them being a completely separate, completely different, person, completely, with their own world and their own, beliefs and their own life experience. I still think that if I just did enough, he would suddenly change. And he was suddenly, like, recognized, despite him repeatedly showing signs of being unworkable and unapproachable and instantly defensive, at the idea of me being my own person and me having my own, beliefs and my own opinions and my own, desires. And I still thought it was possible. And it's not. Every time I was trying to approach him from a more honest, like, conversation, a more honest, like, about my reality and not just play the role that he wants me to play, and being like, oh, it's okay, I'm earning money and everything's good, and yeah, I'm being a proper member of society, and it's like, and I'm doing my part, and I'm a cog in the machine as you tell me I should be. And I was like, every time I was not trying to do that, every time I just was honest and truthful, because it's a value of mine. Like I don't wanna pretend, like, for to my abusers, my parents. It's like, why should I fucking pretend? It's like, they abused me my entire life, Why should I give them the courtesy to play the role that they want me to play? And mind you, like, it doesn't mean that I'm instantly rejecting, like, it's just, I am giving them the opportunity to to accept and acknowledge the reality that they have created in me, the reality of me. And if they're not wanting to do that, and if they're refusing to do that, then, well, But what I realized is that I was trying too hard. Although, I don't know, like, it worked with my mom. That's the thing. But with my dad, it's like, no matter how hard I try, that man just refuses to fucking budge. Honestly, and I find it so pathetic. And I guess that ties in a little bit into the previous videos that I made about men. So if you've watched those, this is the part of my pain, the reality of my pain in regards to men. So I'm not being neutral here. I'm not trying to understand anything. I am just being in reality, I guess. Because sometimes reality is that you need to acknowledge the fact that your pain is never ever gonna be seen, no matter how much you want it to be seen, and that this like ideal version of a relationship, with your parent that you have in your mind, right, is not necessarily what the parent even wants, or the parent even chooses, or would choose, or could potentially choose. But it took me such a long time, because I was still calling, and I was like hoping, and I wasn't calling, he was calling, but every time he asked how I was and I tried to tell him the truth, he would instantly start shaming me and blaming me and try to instantly like fix all the problems and even gaslight me, and be like, what is wrong with you? Oh, there is really something wrong with you. Like, you need to go and check yourself out. And I'm like, no, it's like, I feel this way right now because you are fucking gaslighting me. Because you are like literally telling me I'm crazy and there's something wrong with me, and like you're scapegoating the shit out of me right now. He would just put up this veneer. Like this veneer of just, I don't even know how to describe it, but it fills me with rage. Oh my god. It fills me with like this hot-blooded rage of this, like, these glasses that my father would just put on. He just put on these glasses of like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. You're like, there's like, what is wrong with you? Like literally like seconds after like shaming me and telling me that there's something completely profoundly wrong with me, and he would just go like, what is happening? Like, oh god, like the disgust I feel, like, oh my god. Fuck, I need a break. Jesus Christ. This profound, like, blindness in a way. Like, I don't even know how to describe it, but I guess it just feels like gaslighting. If you ever, if you've been gaslit in your life and you work with that, right? And you learn how it feels like, that feeling of like, of just everything bouncing off, Everything bouncing off, and it's just like this feeling of you being made feel like so disgusting and shameful and like icky. Like there's something like there's some Like you're being covered in fucking, mushrooms growing out of you and being infected with something so disgusting. Like this feeling, you know? Yeah, he would just do that, pull that on me. And like last time I just snapped. I snapped and I ended the call, and I was like, because I couldn't fucking stand this shit anymore. It's like every time, like I tell him that, right? Every time I try to explain why I cannot work a standard job, why I, have a disability, or like I'm in pain, like, right? Or why I don't want to have children. It's like, his response would just honestly be, like, no, you will. It's like, you will. That's what he told me once when I was like, I'm not gonna have children. You know what he said? He said, he said, you're not gonna escape anywhere. You will have children. Okay. Okay. It doesn't matter that, it doesn't matter to him that his child, me, is in pain, chronic pain, lives with a disability, and couldn't possibly physically have children even if she wanted to, couldn't possibly physically take care of them. No, she will have children. I have decided. Oh my god. This makes me laugh maniacally. Because how crazy this is. Like the level of gall, the level of entitlement, the level of disconnection. And mind you, this is the man who hasn't been in my life for like 7 years, 7+ years, like longer than that, probably like around 10 years. Wait, actually, how long was it? 15 years. 15+ years. A man who hasn't supported me in any way. A man who hasn't shown up. A man has the gall to try to call you and tell you that you have to have children. Because this is how a right, properly functioning woman in society has to function. Oh, I'm so happy I'm making this episode right now, because I feel like it wouldn't be fair for me to just talk about my more objective, like encompassing perspective and my empathetic standpoint towards men without actually sharing my pain towards men as well. So this is my fucking pain. Unbelievable. Like the gall and the entitlement of a man to just show up in your life and tell you what you have to do, and even fucking dare to bring you down and shame you the second you don't speak exactly what he wants to hear. And this is where I realized that, okay, how deluded I was, because, and I've seen this in other spiritual circles and spiritual people, like especially around these healing modalities or teachings around parents, like, how we're just encouraged to endure this shit. We're still encouraged to think that we can solve it all and the parent is suddenly gonna magically transform. That there is no point at which you need to, cancel the parent out of your life. Just very brutally speaking. Oh my god, the video is getting so dark. That there is no point at which, your parent is gonna suddenly become something that you want, and we keep perpetuating this self kind of responsibility for relationships that we are not even meant to mend. It's like, it's not fully my responsibility to show up to work out all the things with my father when he doesn't even acknowledge the reality of the amount of abuse that he inflicted on me. So and I was pushing and I was pulling and extending, and explaining away and minimizing and being like, okay, maybe I'll wait a little bit, maybe he'll come to his senses, but then I exploded at him and I just told him all the truth. I just told him how I felt in voice messages, like literally just, I fucking brought all hell on him. And guess what he did? what he always does. Completely shut off and pretend like, nothing has happened, and I didn't say anything. And he just, being like, in his mind probably, oh, my daughter is just crazy. So I'm such a good dad because I'm still trying to show up for her because she's so crazy. Like, that's probably what he thinks, Of course, a projection. I cannot know fully because he just gets triggered and starts shaming me. So I have no even way of talking to him authentically and honestly and like vulnerably, and talking about the truth. It's just all the shit on the surface. Yeah, but basically he ignored everything that I said. Like, because I confronted him. I was like, I'm so tired of this shit that I'm just gonna tell the truth about how I feel. That I feel like, okay, kind of, I did the same thing in a bit, like in a way. It wasn't the most empathetic thing that I did, but well, at least I said the truth, and probably came as a shock to him because he didn't respond at all, and he just pretended like nothing happened, and he just continued to congratulate me on all the holidays and stuff, and I was like, and mind you, like. Me exploding at him was only after I tried to approach him with empathy and like patience and suggest like and tell him like, hey dad, I feel like we don't really understand each other, like not even trying to make it fucking personal, just fucking walking around in circles trying to talk to this fucking man. Like I tried that. And I was like, hey, like, there's this book, that I feel like maybe you could read and maybe we could come to better understanding to each other, And his response was just like, you think I should read books? You think I don't know you? I know you. I know who you are. And I'm like, you haven't talked to me in 5 years. You haven't been in my life for 15 years. So how can you possibly know who I am as a person? He's like, no, I know you. I am like... And that's kind of where it all escalated, and he was like laughing at my attempt to try and extend some level of understanding and compassionship. Compassionship, is that a word? Yeah, and after that I was like, okay, fuck you, what else is there? There's nothing I can do. You're unapproachable. I cannot get through to you. You still feel like you know better than me. You still feel like you're entitled to put me down just because you're my father and just because you gave birth to me. It's like, here's the same medicine. And I exploded. And I shamed the fuck out of him. And it was very healing and it was very liberating. I don't know, this is kind of where I get into a bit of a value conflict with myself, because a part of me is like, I don't want to be that person. It's simple as that. I don't want to be that person who perpetuates violence, like energetical violence even, So, because God knows I've done enough of that in my life. But at the same time, when you're put into these situations of a lose-lose, right, where you either lose or you fight, you either stand up for yourself or you are pretty much a pushover and a scapegoat, and everyone's gonna just climb on your shoulders and blame you for everything, which has been a pattern my entire life. But basically, despite all that, I did what I did, and he ignored it all, and it was liberating to me, and I guess also like a final lesson being like that no matter how much I express, no matter how I express, if I express in a harsh way, if I express in a passive way, and if I express in a fawning way, if I express in a slow, compassionate, patient, no matter what I did, that man has no interest in seeing the truth, because he just wants to pretty much live out the rest of his life without having to think, without having to acknowledge anything. So there is no way for me to have anything real with him. And so even after I expressed that way, I just thought that, okay, yeah, that's my worst, the things that I don't want to be true so badly, the things that, my kind and compassionate parts of me that want to understand people, like, still hoped for, just got shattered. And I was like, okay, well, yeah. And he congratulated me with like nothing happened on some holidays, and I was like, okay, please don't message me unless you learn to communicate respectfully, and read the book, that I gave him a while ago. So I suggested that. So please don't message me, And even that fucking boundary he crossed. Because come Easter, he messages me with like a random card, like with a congratulations for Easter in a language that I don't even read. It's like Russian alphabet that I can't fucking read, man. It's like and I'm like, okay, well, I guess it's time, I'm so done with everything I've tried. And this is the point. This is the point where instead of trying, you just cut your parent off, and by choice you decide not to engage with them anymore. And I was just like, hey, you didn't respect my last message, so I'm blocking this number. Bye, And that's it. And it's like, this is where I feel like so many people who are more into this empathy and compassion, trying to ride out, the relationships with parents as long as possible. Well, more like the other side of me that try to ride this out as long as possible, goes like gets so, hurt. I guess it's just hurt at the end. And all these modalities are there to just avoid this hurt for as long as possible, and a lot of people get stuck where they just continue trying to endure and ride out, instead of cutting off their parents, or like really kind of coming into some form of acceptance of like, okay, that this parent is never going to recognize who I am, but still we're going to have this shallow relationship. So unless you can come into acceptance with that, otherwise it's just kind of GG. And this is where I feel like also a lot of like judgment, like that judgment that people have towards, people who choose to cut off relationships with their parents. If that is you, and if you feel some kind of trigger while watching this, like this is, this is how one gets there. You have to choose like either yourself and your own health and your own vitality and nourishment instead of the parents, because otherwise you just allow them to leech off of this idea of you that you are not even, that you're not even are. Yeah, and it felt like that. It felt like my fucking father, my own fucking father, was like this fucking pimple that I couldn't get out, would just call and remind me of all these things that I should be doing, and I should be in this and that way. It's like this random entitled person. There comes a point at which like I begin valuing myself more than my relationship with the parent, or any potential or idea with this parent, that any relationship I could have. It's like where I guess I started valuing the reality of what is, and my own well-being right here, right now, and the mental toll and the triggering that, the triggers that I would feel every time he would message me right here, right now, over any potential that I could possibly have, or any ideal. So yeah. And it's a very sad reality, but unfortunately that is a reality that needs to be accepted sooner or later. So I hope you learned something. And I hope that you also recognize that point when you no longer can take it, and instead of continuing to endure, you just go like, okay, no, that's enough, and prioritize your own reality and your own version of reality, and recognize your own version of reality, and act according to that, rather than continuously trying to fight against, someone else's version of reality, even if that person brought you into this life, as if that's supposed to fucking mean anything. You know, as if you owe them something, as if you owe them to be, you know, who they want you to be just because they fucking birthed you. What a fucking nonsense, honestly. I hope you learned something, and thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. Stay unique, and I love you. Bye bye.